get started working on three-dimensional shapes. We have previously gone over two-dimensional shapes. A two-dimensional shape would be a flat shape, such as our square. On a square, your attributes that you're looking at are your sides and your angles. Squares are flat. All two-dimensional shapes are flat. A three-dimensional shape is a shape that you can hold in your hand. A three-dimensional shape has a length, a width, and a height. So things that you can hold are all three-dimensional. Our first shape that we're going to go over looks like that. It's a cube. Our attributes that we need to go over on our three-dimensional shapes are faces, vertices, and edges. On a cube, or any three-dimensional shape, your faces are the things that you look at when they're facing you. It means how it sounds. That's a face, that's a face. So if you look at it, you got faces in the front, faces on the sides, and faces on the top. If you add up all your faces, it would come to 6. So you need to remember on a cube, let's write down our shape name, cube. You have 6 faces. Now next we'll go over edges. Edges on a shape. Let's look at this smartboard. This smartboard is like another three-dimensional shape that we're going to go over later, a rectangular prism. On the smartboard, you have an edge on the top, or you have an edge on the side. So on our cube, we have edges on the top, edges on the side, edges on this side, edges on the bottom. If you count up all of your edges, you would end up with 12. Now, a vertice is where, let's look at the smartboard example again. You have an edge on the top, you have an edge on the side. Where these two edges meet would be your vertice. Vertice is similar to a point. So if you look at your cube, you have a point right here. And if you counted up all your points, if you counted in your head the vertices in the front and the vertices in the back, you would end up with 8. Let's go ahead and circle our vertices. And there's 8. Now later on in the video, we'll go over how to draw your cube. Your next shape is called a cone. This is an easy shape to remember because a cone is similar to an ice cream cone. That's where you get the name ice cream cone. Or if you're driving on the side of the road, you might see a cone on the highway. Cones have one face. Let's write down 1 for our faces, and then let's write down our name, cone. Vertices, if you look on this, you only have 1 point right here on top, or if you're eating an ice cream cone, it will be on the bottom. There goes your 1 vertice. And then edges. If you're looking on your cone, you have 1 edge. So cone is something that's easy to remember. It has 1 face, 1 vertice, 1 edge. Let's go on to your sphere. All right, your sphere. This is another easy one. This is probably your easiest one of all. The hardest part of your sphere is probably pronouncing it. Sphere. Most people like to say like a spear or something. Number of faces, 0. Number of vertices, 0. Number of edges, 0. It's like a circle. Just like your two-dimensional shape, a circle has 0 sides and 0 vertices. Your sphere has all 0. Another easy one to remember. All right, your next one. Your next one is similar to a shape we've already gone over. If you look at it, it's similar to that cube at the top, but your faces are another shape. Instead of being squares on your rectangular prism, your faces are rectangles. So let's write rectangular prism. Just like your cube, your rectangular prism is going to have the same number of faces. If you remember, 6. If you look at the faces on the top, the bottom, in the front, and the back, and then your side faces. Now let's look at your vertices. Same exact thing as your cube. You have a vertice on the front, you have 4 in the front, and then 4 in the back. This board actually is a rectangular prism. So just like, let's go back and look at our cube. We had 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. Your rectangular prism copies this. 8, and 12. So the only difference is that the faces that make up the cube are squares, and the faces that make up your rectangular prism are rectangles. That's where you get the name rectangular prism. Let's go on to your last two shapes. The next shape is a shape that y'all seen before. If you've seen the ancient pyramids in Egypt, probably see them on a lot of cartoons or TV shows, or if you're watching a movie. So a pyramid is similar to a shape that we've already seen. It's similar to the cone. Let's look at the cone and the rectangular prism next to each other. If you look at them, they have a similar triangular shape. However, unlike the rectangular prism and the square, they're not going to copy each other. The pyramid has, this is called a square-based pyramid, because at the bottom, you have a square. So let's write square-based pyramid. So there goes our first face on the bottom. A lot of people forget that face on the bottom. There goes 1, and then let's look at it. You got 2, 3, and in the back 4, and then on the side 5 faces. And if you notice, the faces on this shape are triangle faces. And let's go over your vertices. You only have 5 vertices. Again, you have one on the bottom similar to your cone that we already did. And then you have one right here where your edges meet, and then another 2 in the back. That'll give us 5. Now, your edges. You need to be careful when you're counting your edges on your pyramid. You have 1, 2 in the front. You got 2 more in the back. That gives you 4. But you also have edges down here. 5, 6, 7, and then 1 in the back would give you 8. And then let's go on to your last 3-dimensional shape that we're going to go over. Your cylinder. This is a shape that y'all seen thousands of times in your life because it's the shape of a can or maybe a drum. A lot of things in life are in the shape of a cylinder. Cylinder is an easier shape. Let's look at your faces on a cylinder. You have one face right here, another face right here. That gives you a total of 2 faces. Vertices, if you notice, this 3-dimensional shape has no vertices. It has no points. And if it has no vertices, if you notice, it has an edge at the top and an edge at the bottom. It has 2 edges. So if you need to, you can pause the video and look at the attributes on all 6 of your shapes that we're going to be going over the rest of this week. Your cube, your cone, your sphere, your rectangular prism, your square-based pyramid, and your cylinder.